Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Today is the anniversary of the disappearance from our mortal vision of Srila Haridasa Thakura, the disappearance day of Srila Haridasa Thakura. He is known as Nama Acharya. Particularly is emphasized that he would chant 300,000 names of the Lord daily. In this way, he's an Acharya teacher. By example, but it's not just teaching by example, but by teaching by giving the proper understanding of what is the holy name, Nama Tattva. Shuddha Nama Tattva, particularly what is Shuddha Nama Tattva. So both things. He preached and he practiced. And as Sanatana Goswami said to Haridasa Thakura, Acha kare keho na kare pracha, pracha kare keho na kare acha. Acha pracha name karaho dui karj tumi sarva guru tumi jagater arj. Some preach but don't practice properly. Some practice very well but don't preach. But you do both in relation to the holy name. And therefore you are the guru of all and the best person in the universe. His teachings on the holy name we find in Chaitanya Charitamrita in the assembly of Hiranya and Govardhan Majumdar. Haridasa Thakura explained the glories of the holy name, that granting liberation is such a great, what is considered such a great thing, granting liberation. It's just a minor byproduct of chanting the name purely. In Chaitanya Bhagavat we find also Haridasa Thakura instructing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Haridasa Thakura, how will all these unfortunate living beings who cannot chant, how will they be delivered? Pashupaki kirta adi balite napare. Shunale harinam tara otore. Haridasa Thakura said, the animals, the birds, the insects, and so on, they can't chant the holy names, but they can hear it. They'll be delivered by hearing. Particularly the subject of chanting in purity was instructed by Haridasa Thakura to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in great detail. What is Shuddhanam, as recorded in Harinama Chintamani by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So today is a suitable day when I'm going to introduce the subject of, introduce a series of talks on Prakrita-rasa Shatadushini by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in which he, just as Haridasa Thakura, distinguished between impure and improper chanting of the holy name and the actual holy, the name who manifests himself when chanted in pure consciousness. So just as Haridasa Thakura dilated on that, so Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in this poem, he discussed the subject, Prakrita-rasa Shatadushini. Prakrita means mundane, material. Rasa is an essential topic in Gauriya Vaishnavism especially. And Shatadushini means 100 refutations. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura, as all the great Vaishnava acharyas, they come to show the way back to Godhead. The way is beset with many thorns. Kalo Shri Bhakti Marge Kantaka Koti Ruddha. Especially in Kali Yuga, the path of devotional service is beset with innumerable thorns. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was preaching mainly in Bengal, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's name, fame, glories, well spread, well known, popular. There was so much chanting of the holy names going on, but Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur saw a great need to re-establish the pure sampradaya of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because what was going on in the name of devotional service, much of it was mixed up with the thorns, or another analogy is the witches of the desire for material enjoyment and the desire for liberation. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is known as the Rupa-nuga Viruddha Apasiddhanta Hari, the one who removes the misconceptions which are going on in the name of Rupa Goswami. Or he removes the darkness of the misconceptions that cover the teachings of the real followers of Rupa Goswami. Now Rupa Goswami, of course, is the head of our Gauriya Sampradaya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, yes, but we're known as Rupa-nugas, not Chaitanya-nugas. There are various reasons for that. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. We pray that when will Srila Rupa Goswami, who established within this world the heart's desire of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when will he grant me proximity to his lotus feet? What was in the heart of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which was not broadcast. Sarup Damodar knew, but he didn't tell anyone. Rupa Goswami knew, and he wrote about it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to taste Bhakti-rasa and to distribute Bhakti-rasa. Before we go and talk about rasa, what is Prakrita rasa, materialistic rasa, or materially infected rasa, we should maybe consider what is Bhakti-rasa, which is the subject of Rupa Goswami's Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu, this essential book for Gauriya Vaishnavas. So therein, Rupa Goswami, he defines Bhakti-rasa. Bhakti-rasa means the nectarian ocean of Bhakti-rasa. Bhakti means here pure devotional service, and rasa is the subject. It's difficult to give any English word which no, there is no English word to translate it. And even if we try to explain it, it's not that easy to understand. In that sense, it's like dharma. It's a word which is not translatable properly into English. And even if you try to explain it, there are so many facets to it that, and so many different opinions on it, that it's hard to understand. So, the definition given by Rupa Goswami of Bhakti-rasa, he gives this in his Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu. Vyatitya bhavana varmayas chamatkara bhara bhu hridi sat vojvale bardham svadate saraso mataha. There's a translation given here which I'll read, and it probably won't help much to understand unless you've studied Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu and know what we're talking about. It's just like if you can say E equals mc squared and say energy equals mass times the speed of light squared, and you can say it, but what does it mean? It's difficult to understand. I can't even begin to understand it, because how can you square the mass? How do you square a watch, for instance? You can square the numbers which correspond to mass, but you can't. So anyway, that's another subject altogether. Okay, a translation given here. When one's sthai bhav, permanent emotion, combines with 4 other ingredients, namely vibhava, the stimulus that causes one to taste one's eternal bhava. That's also divided into 2 divisions. Anubhav, visible symptoms of that bhav. Satvik bhav, 8 transformations that occur when the heart becomes saturated with pure emotion. And vyabhichara bhav, bhavs that rise like waves in the ocean of one's eternal relationship. Surpasses the path of mundane contemplation and manifests on the platform of a radiant heart that is thoroughly purified by Shuddha Sattva. It constitutes rasa. It is the basis of excessive astonishment, and it is relished in a heart that is pure. So now you know what rasa is. It's very technical analysis. Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu is very technical analysis, but important points here in considering what is the Vikrita rasa, or the perverted rasa, or Prakrita rasa, material mundane rasa, is that it arises, Bhakti rasa arises in a heart that is pure. Only in a part of someone who's pure they can realize what is their sthai bhav, their eternal relationship with Krishna. So someone who doesn't have, who has not come to that platform, and not on the platform of Shuddha Sattva, they're very much in the grip of the 3 modes of material nature, then if they are to make a show of relishing rasa and calling themselves rasik bhakta, it's, what does it become? Shruti smriti purana adi pancharatra vidhin vina aikantaki hare bhaktya utpate aiva kalpate. Devotional service which is performed without following the directions in all these shastras, it's not helpful, it's just a disturbance to the actual path of bhakti. So similarly, if one doesn't follow Rupa Goswami, his directions in Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu, which begin with sadhana bhakti. Well, first of all, it begins with a definition of what is the subject matter of this book. It's anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma dhyanavritam anukulyena krishna anushilanam bhakti-rutama. It begins with an attitude of pure devotion, that there is no cultivation of desire for material enjoyment or desire for release from material existence, but only intense cultivation of pure devotional service to Krishna. So that is the subject matter. What is the nature of pure devotion? How pure devotion surpasses liberation all this is set out. And then, first of all, among the three divisions, actually bhakti means prema bhakti. Rasa arises in the heart where there is prem, and it can begin to arise. One ray, just like sun ray, one sun ray of prem arises when there is bhav. All this is discussed in Bhakti-rasa Sindhu. But first of all, there is consideration of sadhana bhakti, devotional service in the stage of sadhana. So one who is not eligible, who's still needs to practice sadhana to come to the platform of awakening one's eternal relationship with Krishna, if they proclaim themselves to be on the platform of relishing rasa, it's nonsense. It is an anartha in itself. That's a term we're going to be coming across a lot in this Prakrita-rasa Shatadushini. It's an anartha in itself. An anartha, it's actually an obstacle on the path of actually coming to the path, to the point of pure devotion. We may think, well, Bhakti-rasa Saraswati, it's nice to look back in history and see all these things, and it's very interesting how he was fighting against all the Sahajiyas, but it's not just for the past, it's for the present also. As we see, and that's why I want to speak on this, as we see at the present time, that this Sahajiyaism, Prakrita Sahajiya, those who take devotional service to be very cheap, this has very much entered the Vaishnava society, which has entered this Vaishnavism. The cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is now spread all over the world, and throughout the world now the Sahajiya Bhav, the cheap feelings or cheap approach, is becoming prominent, and again we come to the same situation. It becomes difficult to preach pure devotional service. As Rupa Goswami taught, as Bhakti-rasa Saraswati taught, extracting it from the mouth of the Sahajiyas, and as of course Srila Prabhupada taught. So this analysis of or discussion of this Prakrita-rasa Shatadushini is very relevant for Vaishnava society at the present time. I'm just going to give a short introduction here. I'll read the first verse. There are 78 verses. Read the first verse now and we can discuss more later. The first verse is a summary of the whole poem. We're talking about rasa, and generally when we hear us talking about rasa, it's Bhakti-rasa, prem, and it's all Haribol, but this is in a warning mood. The whole poem of Bhakti-rasa Saraswati Thakura is a warning mood. Don't rush in. Don't mistake that which is unreal for that which is real. So the first verse, and it sets the mood. And any one of these verses could be discussed in great length, but I'll just state it now. The first verse: Prakrita cheshtate bhai kabu rosh hoina jariya prakrita rosh shuddha bhakta gaina. By any material efforts, bhai, it means you're just speaking. I'm not putting you down, I'm just, bhai, brother. I'm just speaking friendly words to you. By any mundane efforts, what is actual rasa can never be awakened. And those who are actual pure devotees, they never praise the mundane rasa. I'll come back to this later, Krishna willing, in other sessions. And just a short introduction, we'll finish there now because you're supposed to tell me about all the devotees here, what they're doing. All right, so we'll finish this talk just now.